Hello, this is Danielle Channels Planets, and it is Wednesday, May 6th, and I'm looking at the archetypal energies of today. And because it's Mercury Day on Wednesday, I'm going to start with Mercury, given that it's also in one of the strongest aspects of the day and of the week. So, Mercury, the archetype of communication, speech, understanding, logos, logic, words, writing, emails, connections, how we relate to things, how we understand things, our throat chakras, speech in all of its forms, languages, dictation, these kinds of things. The relay of information and ideas and how we understand information and ideas is in Taurus. And Taurus is more of a material earth-based sign. So, music, an actual album, an actual writing, an actual email, an actual material-based type of communicating something. Now, Taurus is also what we value. It's what we value and it's what we find worth in. So it has this kind of grounding energy and fine quality of something that's matured over time that, that's kind of Capricorn, but like Taurus is like, likes nice things. And so Mercury likes nice ideas. It likes nice quality, good, communication. And that is getting a sucker punch in the face right from Pluto. I mean, in whatever way that's coming through in our personal lives or in the world or in people around us, Pluto is massively, massively transformative, instinctual. This is like deep embodied power, instinct, sexuality, and unconscious forces that are not at Mercury's convenience, who rather be peace loving and harmonious and, again, placing value on nice speech and communication. And Pluto just comes in and kind of forces the shadow side to everything, forces the shadow side of communicating. And so if we have to talk about difficult topics, maybe we have to be in difficult dynamics, maybe we are getting into power dynamics or polarizing dynamics as we're trying to talk to someone, or just noticing that out in the world where there's a lot of movement. Pluto can intensify the movement and the energy of Mercury. So Pluto can really make the logos function almost overactive, almost compulsive, or the need to say too much, or the need to go somewhere, the need to do something. And as if being driven by a motor, but now there is, a volcanic nuclear energy behind that motor to do it. And so that's not just happening for us in our individual lives, but it's happening for everyone. So Mercury is really taking a trip to the underworld, and it will be reborn there. There's some kind of sense of empowerment that we're meant to find. There's also a transformation of our ideas and our how we communicate. So if you find something kind of breaking down around how you communicate, what you say, how you're understood, dynamics with others, Pluto might be forcing these repressed contents for us to take a look at, and how we communicate. And what does that look like? And can we make space for Pluto? And Pluto can be messy. Pluto can be imperfect. Pluto can definitely be felt in the body in a very uncomfortable way. Especially as Mars and Jupiter are continuing to be in a square aspect. So it can bring up a lot of aggression. It can bring up a lot of discharge or displacement of anger, especially with this Mercury-Pluto going on. There can be a need to kind of communicate polarizing ideas impulsively. And, Mars-Jupiter can really be like, and there's like a massive conflict about it. That's one expression. On the positive side, this could be just a general kind of new ways emerging, it's not all doom and gloom. It can also be a rebirth into a different sense of self, a different way of communicating, a different way of sharing thoughts and ideas. And Mars Jupiter can be an engine that helps get that boat going and to places it's never been before. So sometimes transformation and change, we go into a descent into the underworld. And I think that is kind of the theme this week. It's not necessarily a climb. I think Mars Jupiter would love to climb a mountain and would love to go to the top and be its goat little self of Mars, in Aries, and goat around. But there's something about Pluto Mercury which is suggesting that we're descending and we're going on a descent. But luckily for Mars and Aries, it would like to climb out, and it's good at that. So, goats can go up and goats can come down, and they know how to traverse both realms. Just because, it's not like reaching the pinnacle of the sun there is still gold and the self to be found when we descend. So if you are having like projective, uncomfortable things that are arising, and it's just like kind of a weird week for you, that is the journey, that is the climb, that is the mountain that we are meant to be traversing right now, especially with Chiron close by. Mars is moving closer to it. It's kind of in a Mercury Mars sandwich, Chiron being our wound. And so this can be any kind of wound, but particularly around probably your independence, your authority, your autonomy, your individuality, because it's an Aries, and your sense of self and your sense of drive and your sense of being you in the world. It could be a chip on your shoulder. There could be something about your sense of independence that feels kind of like it's just getting poked or activated through this time. And that's meant to come through as a way for us to heal it and to become aware of it and to tend to it. Yeah, so the moon on Wednesday is also feeling all of this. And so it's in a supportive aspect with the sun and Mercury. So we, as long as we're moving, as long as we're talking, as long as we're being, we're feeling okay about ourselves, like we're feeling maybe like that and leaning into these Taurian themes of the month of peace and relaxation. When we do that, things tend to kind of flow in a good direction emotionally today. But at the same time, the moon is definitely feeling, this morning it's going to feel into Saturn, and then later in the day it's going to feel more into this Mars Chiron. It's in a contact with both of those right now. But I would say like that's definitely heavy for the moon. Like it's a good day to be patient. It's a good day to just kind of acknowledge there's some limitations. There are some aggressive forces. Everyone's maybe feeling a little pushy. Maybe everyone's feeling a little feisty. Moon Saturn can feel a little bit isolating, a little bit lonely. And then Moon Mars can feel energized, but it can also feel angry. And it could feel a bit needy, to be honest. And so Capricorn Moon, what does that mean? Well, I think Capricorn Moon likes to sit down and make a little plan, make a little budget, structure, sticking to the discipline, sticking to what works, and counting your coins. So Capricorn likes to pull out the old Excel spreadsheet and take a look at its money, and kind of bury itself in the logos function. And I do think that right now that is a very supportive thing, given that Venus, the archetype of money and what we value and what we find worth in, is in Gemini. And Gemini is the logos function and understanding and thinking. And so, yeah, it could be helpful to lean into, we're finding worth, we're finding value, we're finding beauty in the world, we're finding maybe a sense of what comforts the moon would be something Venus related in terms of Mercury and counting coins. So that could be nice. So lean into structure today, and then that will pass, as we move into the evening here. Yeah, the moon is going to keep moving into a stronger dynamic. And then we're going into May 7th. The moon will still be in a strong aspect, moving into a T-square with Mars and Chiron. And so we're going to really be feeling, kind of a culmination of this emotional energy that's getting activated, but it doesn't necessarily need to look the same the whole week. At one moment, we might be feeling like frustrated or angry or irritable. Another moment, we might feel energized and assertive and active. So there's a full range of possibilities around what gets activated at this time. And it definitely doesn't need to all be anger by any means. Yeah, especially as Pluto is in a aspect with Mercury. It's going to eventually have a rebirth to it. So after Mercury continues to pass and separate from Pluto, which it will by tomorrow even more, that Mercury is going to start feeling kind of what this transit was all about. Now that the Sun and Mercury have been through a square with Pluto, they can feel a little bit more empowered, like they're on the other side, and they know how to start growing now out of the ashes of whatever's been burned down and moving forward. And moving forward by, we've seen the unconscious, we've seen what's down there, we know the darkness. Now how are we going to go into action? What are we going to do? Who are we now because of what we've seen and what we know, what we've been changed by? And Mars is going to feel a bit stunted for a moment as it moves through this wave for about a month with Chiron. It's not as big as Pluto. It is just a little bit more of a chip on the shoulder, but nevertheless, it can really kind of put a little bit of an Achilles heel into the situation. Um, I also just like bringing up at this time, it's just phenomenal that Pluto is in a trine to Uranus, and it is also in a sextile aspect with Neptune and Saturn. And so Pluto is really carrying this transformative energy at this time. And Pluto is always related to a descent and related to going into the unconscious and facing difficult, uncomfortable things in our bodies and our relationships with other people out in the world that we'd rather not. And so, with Pluto in a trine aspect to Uranus, it's bringing forth transformative types of new ways of being creative and things that we haven't even dreamed of yet out of this transformative process. So the way through is through hell at this time. And it is kind of the theme, I think, through the rest of the year. It being kind of a Pluto Saturn year as well. Pluto sextile Saturn and Pluto sextile Neptune can bring a transformation of our ideologies and a restructuring of our life in general. But it's through pain, it's through things we'd rather not face, it's through engaging with our inner worlds and repressed contents. And so, taking a lot of time each day, especially this week, to reflect on what emotions are arising in your body, what feelings are coming up, and how can you relate to that with an attitude of acceptance, gratitude, compassion, and be curious about it, because that is the doorway through. And our attitude towards what is coming up, if we are pushing against it or if we are resisting it, that's actually going to keep us caught in this like cycle. And so if we can have the curiosity to turn towards it and the capacity to engage with it and hold it in the way that it needs to be held, and do that for ourselves first, because I think a lot of us look for the world to do that for us. But if we can be the ones that do that for us, now that Pluto's retrograde, and Pluto retrograde means the transformation is going to start unfolding within us, and that starts today and that's going through October. We are the ones that we are looking for. And so by going into our own inner world, that's where we're going to find the gold that is a part of the transformation. Pluto wants us to pull us inward. So any kind of practices that help connect us to engaging with unconscious material, somatic practices, journaling, even just writing poetry or making songs, that would be definitely a helpful endeavor at this time. Pluto can bring a lot of dark things forward. And so if you can find a way to capture shadow imagery through words and music and things, and that would be the creative energy of Uranus and Gemini, bringing an understanding and shedding kind of like a playful, lighter energy onto the unconscious can totally bring forth new material that we haven't even seen before. So I think a lot of creativity can be born out of these moments by taking advantage of all of the outer planets that have ingressed into new signs that are bringing forth just completely new ways of being and understanding that we haven't even seen before. So all of that's getting amped up, I think, this week. We have an emotional tension, the moon, feeling this Mars energy, feeling maybe a little tense, maybe feeling a little aggressive, maybe feeling a little assertive, especially with Jupiter amplifying all of that. So again, I think that physical, creative projects and using the logos function can be helpful. Some kind of discipline, some kind of mantra for staying confident in the self, or and that might be helpful too, to connect to images of self that empower you, spirit guides, religious figures, those kinds of things, because Neptune's in the mix here as well. Okay, well, stay tuned for more updates. Thanks for watching.